definitely thank you for that, because I think that kind of helped clear up some things that I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to take a bit of a pivot. There's another
Let's
thing I
do
want to
it.
ask you about. So, of course, really anyone who's gonna be listening to this podcast is gonna be able to immediately think to the fact that we all know we dealt with like a global pandemic,
Oh
COVID-19,
yeah.
and things
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sure plenty of people are still reeling from the effects of. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things I do want to probably ask you about is what are some of the long-term impacts of the pandemic that you might have possibly seen in like your
Oh yeah.
practice, and how
That's
do
a
you
good
feel like that's
question.
affected young people?
And honestly, I would say we're kind of still seeing some of those, still like investigating, still gonna
Hmm.
find out more about like longer term impacts. But as of right now, I feel like for a lot of the people, it kind of like was very uh, disruptive to their livelihood. Like a lot of people and children in particular were, I want to say like able to move on, but it's kind of like that. I don't think it's like everyone just kind of fully moved on, because it's like the effects of that where everyone's still dealing with. But it's like some of the kids were able to by sort of move on. I mean, like continue regular school after they had this time period where being in person was disrupted. But a lot of the referrals that I've seen and that we received were related to some form of like inconsistent or basically non-existent school attendance. And a lot of it, it happened to so many people. And it's like some of them even got to the point where it's like they really don't leave their house much or leave the house at all. And it's like, this is not something that was very common before pandemic. Like it definitely happened, but now it's like way more common. Like so many of the referrals have been related to something along those lines. And so, like that's like one thing. And then other things related to that is like, I would say sometimes like some kind of like arrested development in a way. Like people, haven't been able to properly mature properly, because they, it's like that major trauma happened and folks are stuck. And then it was also not just a major trauma of the pandemic with everyone having to be in at home shutdowns. It was also a lot of people experience deaths in close family members, close relatives. And so that those different effects are gonna can be cumulative. And it's like it can really sort of like disrupt the natural flow. And then with other world events happening, it's like there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of like general tension and anxiety. So
Mm-hmm.
I say, even stuff like that kind of has people feeling on edge or hopeless. So you can see reactions in different ways to that too. Like sometimes increases in like different types of crime, increases in like shootings, increases in like other things. And it's like I feel like in some ways related to back to that, like a sort of general kind of hopelessness and people just kind of like not really having faith in humanity, or that things will get better. Because it's like for a while it was like it's not really seeming that's possible. So it's tough out here.
Hmm. So, how do you think, as a psychiatrist, you've been able to, I guess, try to help people navigate some of those things if you've had those opportunities?
Oh, definitely. I would say from my position, it's kind of like just like a like trying to have people recognize like the general limitations that we have as individuals. Like there's so many things we as humans we sort of like try to give ourselves a sense of comfort from being in some kind of control. But just recognizing, having people recognize the reality, like there really is so little that we can control. But there are some things that we can do to try to sort of put ourselves in the best position that we can to succeed, and just kind of encouraging and supporting people to figure out what that is for themselves. It's probably the best way to put it.
I'm sure, like, I would imagine that's probably helped a lot of people in terms of, I guess, like the framework through which, like, they're thinking about some of those problems or some of those things going on.
I hope so. No, I think so though, for real. I think so. And then, it's like I'm so glad like there's more open conversations about mental health and things like that. And with some people acknowledging like they went through things and then they were able to go get it taken care of. And then so I think that also helps encourage other people, provide some kind of hope and inspiration. So